These utility-based ventures, such as XRP, have no real value. I have previously mentioned this, discussed it in a video on XRP, where I said that the current value of XRP is a complete hoax. We don't know the actual worth of these projects, which is why I say that and why I'm so adamant about it, especially when it comes to initiatives like SHAR. The true worth of XRP in the real world is unknown to us. We are aware of its usefulness. We predict the ultimate size of XRP. The issue, however, is that XRP is still linked to Bitcoin and what does not. For instance, XRP is currently trading at about 216 on my screen, but its price behavior is mirroring that of Bitcoin. This demonstrates that major actors might simply control Bitcoin in any way they choose. We are aware that XRP shares this fact, hence the value is fictitious as of right now. XRP was altered. Since everything is connected to Bitcoin, the majority of the space is influenced. Additionally, Bitcoin currently holds a domination of over 64%. As for XRP, everyone is saying that everything is fine. If you know that banks are using XRP or that all this good news is happening, then why isn't XRP trading much higher? Don't blame Ripple or the fundamentals of XRP. Just blame the fact that we aren't yet in a utility bull run. But what if I told you that every single day we are getting closer to that point as institutional grade adoption keeps growing and legislation and regulation catch up to this space? Expand. The closer utility becomes the primary driver of value. How high, though, can these projects reach? For example, where will XRP be in a year or two? It's difficult to predict, but I have stated repeatedly that XRP will have trillions of dollars in value. However, many individuals find it difficult to believe me. What is the evidence for it? How can we be certain that XRP will have trillions of dollars in value? That's because Bitcoin has a market value of almost $2 trillion. You may also argue that this is insufficient evidence. However, isn't it? If you use the Bitcoin network, you are aware of XRP's true efficiency. You are also aware of Bitcoin's inefficiency. Not because Bitcoin is worthless. I'm only expressing my belief that Bitcoin is overpriced. In the long run, I believe that XRP will be worth at least as much as Bitcoin. And the rationale is the combination of utility and institutional grade adoption. However, let's actually discuss the primary motivator and the factor that, in my opinion, will make tokenization of many of these utility-based initiatives extremely beneficial. Mario recently shared the Black Rocky K clip once more. Correct. June 1st, 2025 is the date. Every financial asset will eventually be tokenized, according to Larry Fink, and IBC is already there. We think that tokenizing all financial assets will be the next big technological development. This implies that all stocks and bonds will be listed on a single common ledger. We're not waiting, and we agree. No one else is nurturing as many tokenized RWAS as we are. Hard assets, credit, infrastructure, and yield-bearing instruments are the main media exposure booths in the area. In this multi-trillion-dollar change, we are influencing the flow of custody and capital compliance. They're building the railroads. They're being laid by us. Listen, there will be more than one ledger in the case of BlackRock. Several DTS networks will be connected to a single ledger, which is exactly what the BIS informed us. They wish to implement that multi-ledger initiative. That's occurring, I guess. At this point, whole asset classes begin to move up the chain. This is the beginning of Wall Street 2.0, which I have discussed with Ono as well. All of that is taking place in real time. And if you missed it, pay great attention to this video clip. In 2024, pay close attention to it once more. We think that tokenizing financial assets will be the next big thing. This implies that each stock and bond will have a unique QIP. One general ledger will have it. Each investor, including you and me, will have a unique identification number. With tokenization, we may eliminate any problems related to illegal activity with digital stocks and bonds. The most crucial aspect of tokenization is that it allows us to tailor methods to each individual. Our settlement would be instantaneous. Consider all of the expenses associated with stock and bond settlement. However, since tokenization is only a line item, everything would happen instantly. Therefore, we think that this is a technical shift for financial assets. You want to discuss things like voting and making choices if we are always aware of who owns that stock when it is time to cast our ballots. Each owner is identifiable and has the ability to vote on their own shares. The next phase, we think. You must now keep in mind that this is BlackRock CK. We understand BlackRock's size. We are already aware of it. I mean, you don't need me to repeat it 100 times. However, the fact that this asset management firm is informing us of this indicates that it is already taking place. We could see that this revolution was already happening, right? Additionally, 84 trillion is scheduled to be transferred, which will result in the tokenization of that sum of money as well. This is from Gen X, Y, and Z to baby boomers. This is the significant transfer of wealth. The funny thing about this is that we invested in the rails, so we are a part of this wealth transfer. I believe we have discussed the railroads. We have investigated them. Money is already beginning to be tokenized on XRP in significant quantities. With this $84 trillion on the chain, things won't end there. And Quincy was the one who wrote a fantastic post about this. The adoption of real-world asset tokenization is the trade volume, he stated. It is important for everyone to understand that every tokenized asset adds to the network's demand every time it is traded. The liquidity required from cryptocurrency as a means of payment to enable these transactions rises in tandem with its volume for the tokenized asset. This allows for value appreciation to cover the liquidity required and the ecosystem to expand with more available capital. Since many postings about tokenization are similar to this one, with BlackRock CK being highlighted, I believe this to be one of the most insightful ones I've read. However, everyone is oblivious to the fact that it goes beyond simply adding $0 trillion to the chain, for instance. Imagine $100 trillion on the chain being exchanged around the clock, and using that sum to establish entirely new marketplaces. It's not 100 trillion. Now multiply it. The true worth lies there. We heard this from a lot of people too, right? As an illustration, consider this video clip in which Ripple discusses real estate on the XRP ledger. It's Jazzy Cooper. It's crucial to listen to these 2 clips. Therefore, I want to play them again, because she says exactly what David Schwartz said in 2023. Pay great attention to the first one. It's Jazzy Cooper. Tokenization is simply the digital representation of a real-world object in a digital format. Here we are referring to the blockchain. Therefore, anything might be taken from the real world. Equity might be the cause, be something you own. It might be a particular privilege, such as the capacity to vote, or it could be a digital representation of an off-chain entity or aspect that is brought into the blockchain. Usually, after you've decided what you want to represent, you'll take that real-world item and represent it on the blockchain using an existing standard like Ethereum and ERC20, or an IOU like fungible token on the XRP ledger. Why do you want to do that now? Why tokenize something merely for the sake of tokenizing it? No one exists. When you've successfully tokenized it, you want to use it for something. You wish to leverage one of the many benefits of tokenizing actual objects on the blockchain, such as sending it as money or trading it as collateral to obtain a loan. Did you understand that correctly? It will do more than simply hang on the chain. There is much more you would like to accomplish with these tokenized items. In 2023, David Schwartz made a similar statement. Pay close attention. The growth of real-world asset tokenization efforts is something I hope to witness. I believe that the XRP ledger will be an excellent starting point for them. If someone is going to purchase a real-world tokenized asset, what do you want to do with it? This is especially true given the low costs and the integration with the DEX, which is close to the movement of funds. There are several reasons why you might desire to purchase, sell, hold, or transfer it. Additionally, you want to be able to buy and sell it using whatever asset is most convenient for you. If you tokenize debt of any kind, you don't want to bind it to US dollars, for example, as that would restrict access to it to those who are somewhat close to US money. Giving you a sense of closeness to a wide range of assets and allowing for frictionless trades is one of the benefits of the XRP ledger. That, in my opinion, is one of the numerous reasons why the XRP ledger will be a suitable platform for the introduction of tokenized real-world assets. That should happen within the next year and a half, in my opinion. Therefore, you want to do more with something after you tokenize it. It's that easy, isn't it? Which brings me to my observation about Quincy's. I stated, this is exactly what so many people are failing to realize about tokenization. The value today of gas tokens like XRP, HBAR, so many other ones are just drops of water in the bucket compared to where they are headed. Everything of value will be tokenized. The Godfather, who is Graham Rodford of Arctics, is correct. He even estimated that the entire market for adjustable goods is worth about 1.7 quadrillion. RWAS will not merely survive on-chain, they will be exchanged all year round. They will be restricted from lending and borrowing in liquidity pools. They will be used to open up new chain markets. The value of the underlying gas tokens will rise exponentially as a result of the demand that some of these networks would encounter. The currency market, which is worth trillions of dollars every day, is already represented by stable currencies on the chain. Real estate is one of the asset groups that is already on-chaining. We are witnessing the start of one of the biggest revolutions in history. These networks based on utilities are still connected to Bitcoin. Real value will be attained when utility is the primary factor influencing value. Having real utility makes us wealthy. However, the voyage will not be brief or simple. Additionally, I want you all to know that I do think that everyone who owns utility-based projects in the area will become tremendously wealthy. And it's not just because I think so. This is due to the entire market that can be addressed here. $4 trillion. Let's go back on top of quadrillions of dollars, shall we? Let's return to the transfer of wealth alone. $84 trillion. It won't simply reside there and affect these networks, No. That $84 trillion will also be multiplied since it will be exchanged around the clock, every day of the year. We're going to see it lent and borrowed against. I want everyone to understand what tokenization is. It marks the beginning of the on-chain movement in the finance industry. And all of the markets surrounding TradFi will also be a part of that. It is at this point that we begin to examine stocks, for instance. The stock market is what we examine. We examine the market for bonds. We examine real estate. At each and every significant market and asset class where value is associated. All of that is moving in unison. And the most amazing part of all of this is that, for instance, Archix informed us of the entire adjustable market and that they have already teamed up with Ripple to add millions of dollars to the XRP ledger. Millions are already attached to it. As an example, we return to the XRP ledger. Oryx is here. With 111.7 million attached, they are at the top. Additionally, they worked with Ripple to grant access to the Aberdeen Money Market Fund on the XRP ledger. By the way, this is worth billions of dollars. This money market fund is linked to billions of dollars. However, they are beginning with a rather little sum. Millions of cash are involved. In fact, I believe that's tracked here as well, we have the Aberdeen Liquidity Fund under Aberdeen, or I should say Archix as well. 44.9 trillion, or 44.9 million is what this is. And then there are the 11.4 million too. However, even the DTCC found in their patent that Generation Infinity tokenized quadrillions of global assets. Hayar, XRP, and a few other networks were linked to this. The largest firms are already here, such as the DTCC, which handles more than $3 quadrillion in securities transactions annually. You have no idea how much the world is aware of this. I take it that they're only giving us the bare minimum. As Larry Frink explains, every financial asset should be tokenized to the bare minimum. That sounds significant. But how large? What are the figures? We're not being told. Ultimately, these underlying networks, and even the RWA space as a whole, will be at least 10 to 100 times larger than they are currently. The RWA on-chain is worth $23 billion in total. The entire market that can be addressed is 1.7 quadrillion. This isn't even accounting for the worth of some of these major participants, like as the DTCC, which is well over $3 quadrillion. Once more, this might be much larger than we realize. And some of these projects, like HAR and XRP, are currently worth at $100 billion. Or even single-digit billions. That is nothing at all in comparison to the value of some of these networks when we begin to see trillions of dollars being traded around the clock. You know, Quincy is absolutely right in this case. He gets it. Understands. I also want everyone to grasp this because it is really important to know, because if you don't, you will try to leave this area as soon as possible before the true value ever appears. Currently, these networks have no real usefulness. They are absurd. You will see how effective, disruptive, and revolutionary this technology truly is when that actually happens and becomes a reality because of the true value that is associated with it. Having said that, I hope you all found this video entertaining. Because it's free stuff, please like, subscribe, and enable notifications. Please feel free to join the free Discord down description below and follow me on Twitter. That being said, this has been Nick, guys. Thank you for viewing. Goodbye.